Hey dudes, this is Susan DeMonte, Pat Robinson in the Adventures of the Wilderness Family movies, and you're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. Listen all the way to the end because, well, since I'm Italian, Tommy wants to know if my toes smell like sweet grapes of wine. Well, it's none of his business. Enjoy.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now, I am so excited for today's show because I'm going to be interviewing a very rare interview, a very talented actress who you all know from Midnight Express and Dario Argento's Inferno, celebrating its 40th anniversary. Irene Miracle, the gorgeous, talented actress who was in those movies. She was also in Puppet Master. She was also in a couple obscure things. Watchers 2, The Last of Philip Banter, In the Shadow of Kilimanjaro, and lots of stuff like that. And I can't wait to have her on the show today. Like I said, it's a very rare interview. I'm always fascinated in finding out why talented ladies didn't go further in their career and why and what they're doing now. It's always exciting. That's what I love about having a podcast. So yeah, here is my interview with Irene Miracle.
Tommy.
Hey Irene, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, coming off of the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, did you do anything special?
No, just eat too much dessert, which I shouldn't be doing these days, but I just indulged myself and just heard random firecrackers outside.
Yeah, I witnessed our mailbox down the street get exploded, destroyed. It sounded like we were like a war was starting. It was so loud.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is such an honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So let's go back in time. Did you gravitate toward acting early on in your childhood?
I would say no. I had no clue about being an actor. I was always a dancer and a performer in front of the camera. I in various travels with my father around the world. I had a hula skirt at one point and was learning hula. And then I was learning the Mexican hat dance and dancing around one of those old-fashioned hats. So I enjoy performing. I certainly did not think of myself as having a career with that, doing that.
Wow, I think hula hoop is a very underrated art form. You know what I mean?
It is. But I meant, did I say hula hoop? I meant hula as in Hawaiian dancing.
Oh, hula dancing.
But you're right about the hula hoop, man. It's amazing what some people can do with those things.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is. It's pretty amazing. Wow. Yeah. And you're born and raised in Oklahoma?
I wouldn't say I was raised there, but I was born there.
Mm-hmm. You were born...
Yeah, we moved out here to California when I was pretty young, 2 or 3 already.
Yeah, because I was reading that you spent some time in my hometown of San Francisco.
Yeah, I did. Well, San Francisco, but more so in the Bay Area. Los Gatos, Sunnyvale, Los Gatos, Sunnyvale. There's some other areas there too. I have memories of walking amongst the cherry trees before they were all cut down to create highways.
Yeah, I'm a San Mateo boy, pure San Mateo boy, and I was there up until 3 years ago, and then I got out because Silicon Valley was driving me and my mother nuts after we lost everything in 2013.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it because of Silicon Valley that you lost everything, or?
Half of it is that, and half of it is a toxic relationship my mother was in.
Right.
And so we got the hell out of there, and we're up here in Redding, California now, and we're trying to stabilize ourselves so we can get to Los Angeles after the pandemic.
Yeah, whenever that's going to be. Redding is beautiful, though.
It is, but it's very boring. There's nothing to do over here. It's all country life, and we're not country people by any means.
Yeah.
I had godparents up here that kind of got us up here and stuff, and it's been a blessing, I'll tell you. So after high school, you went to Rome?
I guess you could say, yeah, I did. I mean, I've done a lot of traveling in my life, so yeah, I mean, Rome was the place that I ended up in right after some time with my father in Africa.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Africa. That must have been exciting.
It was, yeah. I was in Nairobi, and I mean, I traveled around to Mombasa and other areas, but that's kind of what started my acting career. Is the assistant to Michelangelo Antonioni was doing some scouting for The Passenger.
Oh, I remember that movie with Jack Nicholson. Yeah.
And I was teaching ballet across the street from where he was staying at the what was the name of that hotel? What was the name of that hotel? Anyway, famous historical hotel in Nairobi. And he kept approaching me, and I kept waving him off, and he finally left me his card. And there was a political uprising where Jane Kariuki was the Minister of Finance at the time, and the next runner-up to be president was found in the Ingong Hills by some people that were passing by. Baboons were, chomping on his body parts, and anybody who knew Kariuki and his wife, which was a lot of people, it's a small town in Nairobi. I mean, I had dinner with him and his family, and they own several boutiques, so you couldn't help not know them. Were getting threatened. Their lives were getting threatened. So I basically took the first flight that I could get out of Nairobi in a very short time, which happened to be an airline stewardess seat. And it was going to Rome. And so I contacted this guy because I didn't know anybody else. And God, this is such a wild story. He was not in Rome at the time because it was summer. He was in Sardinia, so he said, "I'll arrange a ticket for you to come to Sardinia." And so I went to Sardinia and was taxied to this big bubble house on the rocks, and it was Antonioni's summer home. And I was shown to a room and fell asleep. I was so exhausted from just the whole ordeal of escaping murder threats and the traveling to Rome and then to this other place I didn't know and people that I don't know. And woke up the next morning and sat around a kitchen, one of those booths, kitchen booths, to have breakfast, and asked the guy next to me, "So what do you do for a living?" And he said, "You don't know who I am?" And then he started rambling off in Italian to his other friends, and and he said, "You're so fresh. You're so innocent. You're so young." This is Antonioni, I was sitting next to, and his friends were Pasolini and Fellini and Bertolucci, and I didn't know any of them. I didn't know anything about their careers or who they were or what they did. And suffice to say, we were all kind of running around half naked for the next week in this house. All the people that were visiting, and he was taking home movies with me. I wish I had a copy of that. And playing tennis and not tennis, but playing ping pong or reading books or sunbathing or whatever.
Yeah.
And and then I was offered a film. Not too much after that. I was offered a film by the guy who was an assistant director to him. And I needed a job. I needed some money, and I needed a job. So that's kind of how I fell into acting.
Wow, that's interesting. Do you speak Italian very well?
I do. Yeah.
I'm half Italian on my mom's side, so we know we know some words. We know the ones that you're not supposed to say in public, but we do know the words.
Yeah, it's a beautiful language.
It is.
I would say I'm a little rusty, but like a week or two in Italy, I'd be up to speed totally again. But yeah, I can converse. I have a feeling the same would be for you because you're part Italian and you clearly have an affinity for the language and the culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My grandmother, she was Sicilian, born and raised in San Francisco in North Beach, and she would tell me stories about, mafia encounters that she had when she was young and craziness like that, But I don't think she ever got to go to Italy in her life, unfortunately. And I told her many years ago, someday I'm going to go to Italy, and I will.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't. We are banned from Europe right now. America isn't allowed anywhere because we've done such a lousy job of handling the whole COVID situation. Thanks to our crazy president. But I hope it's sooner rather than later that you're able to visit.
I hope so too. I'm very optimistic that we're going to get through this and we're going to come out of it just fine. Even at its lowest, it's going to be fine.
Well, at the least, I think some really positive things will come through from all of this. I really feel like the various upsets that have been going on recently are going to result in something, and some really big policy changes that have been way overdue. That are for the better.
Absolutely. So that movie you mentioned, was that Last Stop on Night Train?
Yeah, L'ultima notte nel treno. So in Italian, it was the last night on the train.
Last night on the train. I'm sorry.
Oh no! Well, you know what? There's a lot of different titles for that. I heard that they were a year or two ago that they were redoing it with a modern version of that. I don't know if that actually ever happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I never particularly saw this one. But how was that experience? Did you really get your education in film?
I got the beginning of it. You learn in every film. You learn something new, no matter how seasoned you are. You always learn something new. But it was an eye opener for sure. I would say I was rather open to just about anything because I didn't know any of the parameters or the boundaries that one should build around oneself working in the business. So I was very willing to take my clothes off and run around naked, various things, which later I wasn't so willing to do. But listen, you're not missing anything, not seeing it. I actually saw it for the first time only a couple of years ago myself.
Oh, okay. And what did you think when you saw it?
I was kind of amused. I mean, I saw it because people were asking me the most, sort of complex questions about relating. I think somebody related the message of the film to the Virgin Spring, who was trying to, anyway, it's a horror film.
Yes.
Basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a hard time when people start intellectualizing the message behind a horror film, because in my mind, horror films are just, their purpose is to create horror and to make you afraid, and that's it. I mean, there isn't a bigger socio-political whatever message to them. But a lot of people, I guess, are so, such huge fans of horror film and really see them as having some kind of deeper inner meaning, and I respect that. But it's something that escapes me.
Mm-hmm. And then how does Midnight Express come into your life?
Midnight Express, I had been living in Paris, mostly modeling for a living, and one of the photographers that I had worked with, actually, I say two of the photographers, there were two sisters that were working, American sisters that were prolific photographers in Paris. They kept saying to me, "You've got to go to the States because you'd be such a huge hit as an actor there." And I finally took their advice because I didn't want to model forever. Modeling didn't have wasn't very satisfying to me as a job. And so that's what I did. I came here, and within 3 months I met a guy on the beach, and ended up living with him. He's since become a really big production designer. But he was looking to get acting jobs, and I had to go with him in his car whenever I had if I had anything I wanted to do in town. We were living in the canyons here.
Right.
And it just so happened that the meeting that he had was with Ibrahim Musa, who was a big agent in Italy, who I'd known there. And, when I was waiting in the waiting room, he came out and he said, "Irene, come stai? Dove sei stata?" It was one of these. And he said, I got a film for you. There's a sighting today. You need to go home and go over these lines, go over the pages, and memorize this, and we'll set the audition for you at 2:00. It was one of those very fast, last minute. Who could have known? And I was called within a few hours of all of that, and told that I was flying out the next day to England to get costumed and whatnot.
Wow.
So it was very, very all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It went so fast that I didn't have a chance to really think about it. It was, one of those things. It was after starting a career that I actually signed up with Stella Adler and did the whole Stella Adler school.
Yeah, I've heard stories about studying with Stella Adler from a lot of people. Wow, that's amazing. Did you do a reading with Brad Davis?
No, he wasn't there at all. I read for the producer and the director.
Wow. And what did you think of this bold script when you read it?
Well, I thought it was very well written, and I was excited about being a part of it, a part of the project. I thought it was it felt like a class act. But I didn't have anything to compare it with because I hadn't read a lot of screenplays. I mean, most of the films that I had done in Italy, I had just been guided told what the story was, and then I had somebody coaching me with the Italian because my Italian was, I was still learning Italian. So, it was my first screenplay in English. So I didn't have a lot to compare it with. It's so funny, when I first came here to start auditioning for roles, people would ask me how I got started, and I would tell them the story I just told you about meeting all of these big directors and how they helped me get started. And they looked at me just incredulous, as if I'd made this story up. You know, it was just all a big lie to impress them. They just, you know, they just couldn't believe it.
I know.
I didn't understand why they couldn't believe it, because these were my buddies. These were the people I palled around with when I was living in Rome.
Yeah. Yeah, Oliver Stone, you know, he was fresh out of NYU, and I don't even think he was on the trajectory of directing yet. But he wrote this brilliant, hard-hitting script that this major studio was taking a risk on. You know, it's just it's so profound, you know, and the way it was perceived when it came out, you know, it was considered a controversial movie at the time, right?
Very controversial, yes. Very controversial. From what I understand, he was sent over to England to write the screenplay and not treated very, very, very friendly. Not treated very nicely. He was, you know, basically sort of like thrown into an apartment and left to his own devices for a month or a few weeks or whatever it was. So he wrote under circumstances that I would imagine were very lonely. I mean, maybe helped him to actually write the great script that it was, because it really is about somebody who's left alone with nobody to fend for him.
Mm-hmm. And of course, yeah, and of course, everybody remembers your infamous "Oh Billy" scene. Did you have any stipulation about showing your breasts?
No, I don't recall, to be honest with you. I felt like that was what happened. And, well, first of all, Susan didn't exist. I did a lot of research to find Susan and to talk to her. And, I mean, I called so many places and found out that she did not exist, and that scene was really just manufactured for the film for the sake of art, you know, for the artistry of the film. But I felt like it was, you know, I needed to be true to how it was written, and my attitude was really that my body is it's part of my tool as an actor. So no, I didn't make any stipulations. They were very nice about building a box around me, so that only the cameraman and the director and the actor could see me, and I wouldn't have to feel, you know, like I had all these eyes on me, just to give me more freedom, which was really nice. I'm sure that helped a lot in terms of being able to play that out as, I don't know, as openly as I did.
Mm-hmm. Well, you certainly succeeded. It is a great scene, a hard-hitting scene. And my introduction to it, I didn't see the movie till much later, but my introduction to it was when Jim Carrey spoofed it in The Cable Guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, there's been several spoofs on it, evidently.
That's the only one I've ever seen. But yeah, how did you feel when you saw that?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was incredibly funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I enjoyed making fun of that scene with people. I mean, people would often, who have met me, would say, "Oh, you're the girl who," and I'd say, and I'd do the gesture of pulling my blouse open to expose myself. And they'd say, "Yeah, the one who exposed her breasts." And they go, "Yeah." You know, they wanted to be respectful, and so to try and just lighten up the mood, I would just, you know, I would do that to let everybody know that it's okay. You can say it. I expose my breasts.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah. I mean, these days it's people expose so much of their body and themselves that I don't think that would have happened today.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been a big deal. I mean, I had a lot of women's lib organizations that were really out to get me because they felt like it was, I don't know, that I was I was harming the innocence of women's rights somehow by exposing my breasts and being open about it being okay. It's interesting.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's great. You're probably going to have "Oh Billy" embedded on your tombstone.
Aww.
You know, because everyone remembers that so much from that movie. How was Alan Parker as a director?
He was very nice, very professional. I would say I had more of a relationship with the producer, David Putnam, than I did with the director. Putnam was the guy who really kept everything, together and kept everything under budget and, rolling in a very smooth way. And I just really clicked with him. So, Alan was, he was very professional, and I didn't spend that much time with him, to be honest with you. I spent more time with the costumer and with the producer. Yeah.
How about Brad Davis? I know that he was going through a drug addiction of his own during the film. I was reading. Did you see him have any issues while working on the movie?
I did, but I don't know if I should talk about it. Already.
Oh, you don't have to.
His wife at the time was like, for whatever reason, really against me because, anyway, he made it very hard for the crew to work, and he was actually separated from all of us into a separate hotel because he would just get so out there, with all of us. So, it's sad. There was a time, I will tell you this, there was a time not long before he died that I was at an opera, and we were all downstairs having drinks after the opera, and he, out of nowhere, I hear, Irene, and it's Brad. And he came up to me and threw his arms around me and, kissed my cheek, and he said, please forgive me for anything I've done to hurt you. And then he left. And I thought, wow, that was amazing. And then, within a couple of months, he was gone. And I realized, okay, he was really on a path to get, to ask forgiveness from people that he felt like he'd harmed or wronged in some way. That was very dear. There were times when I would call him and I'd say, Brad, I have some friends who are doing a film and they'd love you to be, to participate. They'd love to have you. They'd love to hire you. And he'd say, what are you doing calling me? We're abusing, how dare you call me, or something to that effect. It was just, he would take it as an insult that I wasn't going through his agent instead of calling him directly. Here I thought I was doing a nice thing by getting him a really nice job, but who knows? He might have been struggling with various health issues at that time too.
Yeah, but at least he apologized. I think that's that was very nice of him, and
it was awesome. I'll never forget that. He was listen, we all have our demons and we all have our faults, and none of us are perfect. And
certainly
he did an amazing job in the film.
He's on that list of all the great actors that were self-destructive, that died way too young. Guys like Jeff Conaway and so forth. Just great actors, who just they couldn't get it under control. It's really sad. Which brings me to my next point. You won a Golden Globe for the movie. I feel like both him and you should have gotten Oscar nominations.
Thank you. Well, we did have several Oscar nominations, but yeah,
it was you guys were submitted, right?
I think I don't remember, to be honest. I just know that the Golden Globes that year, I just remember it wasn't televised because they had some kind of technical glitch going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, anyway, and it's weird because that's like the 1 year, and I keep getting people asking me, do you have a copy of the awards that year? And, I don't. I wish I did.
And where do you keep your Golden Globe?
I keep it right by me at my desk.
Oh, good. At least you don't keep it in the closet. Because I've heard some people do that.
Did they keep it in the closet?
Some people do. Yeah.
I used to joke when people asked me. I'd say, I use it for a doorstop. And they'd say, how could you do that? But no, I actually keep it here by my desk. Yeah, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I like having it nearby.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because you accomplished something big there, How did you get cast in Dario Argento's Inferno?
Well, I hadn't worked in a while. I turned down, in those days you didn't do TV series because they were considered a step down from doing features. Today you do everything. You do everything.
Of course.
But in those days, if you did a series, you probably weren't going to get asked to do another feature again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hadn't worked in a few months, and I got a call that this guy, Dario Argento, wanted to meet me for a film he was doing. And I said, okay. So I showed up at the studio with my agent, and we waited and waited and waited, and in this office, and this very thin, gangly, sort of unkempt guy came in, and very cute, but, he was, I don't know, he had the feeling of him like he had just been on a hike or something. Anyway, he started walking around me and pulling at my hair and inspecting me very carefully, and then the agent or the person that was introducing us said, Irene, this is Dario. Dario, this is Irene. And he didn't say anything. He just kept walking around me and looking at me, and then he asked me to stand up at one point and then kept walking around me again. And he said, thank you, and he left. And
wow.
It was the weirdest thing. And I looked at my agent, and my agent said, well, I guess it's time to go. And we left. And a couple hours later, I got a call. They would like you to star in this, to have one of the lead parts in this film. I hadn't seen the screenplay yet. And this is what they're offering, and you'd be in Italy for a couple of months, and that's what did it for me. I said, Italy, a couple of months? You got me. I'm in there, for a couple of months, because I wanted to go back to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So very short order, I flew to Italy, and I honestly did not have a script for the most part of making that movie.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of told me the story, and I would get pages here and there that had to do with my scenes, and they'd say, okay, now you're going to go walk. And I said, well, what's my motivation? Where was I before? I had to create my own character,
mm-hmm.
to have something to work with in that film.
Right.
But yeah. That was one of the... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you've been quoted as saying that Mario Bava directed most of the movie.
I think so. I keep getting asked that, and I honestly, Dario wasn't around a lot. He was having... I just remember seeing him arguing with his wife, and in the background, and just being told by various people in the crew, and the cameraman and the crew, of what I was going to be doing, and a lot of attention being paid to how I looked, and that was it. So as far as Mario being the actual director, I think he actually directed a lot of it. Yes, I do.
Huh,
I mean, he was Dario's, right hand man, and I know that they loved each other a lot and were very close. So it's a good estimation that it was him. I have a lot of people around me and wasn't given a lot to work from and didn't spend much time with Dario. So, and I was completely unaware at the time of who a lot of the people that were working with me were and what their importance was. And I was young. I was very young, so. I mean, when I think of some of the people that were part of that production, that now I would be all over them asking for their autograph. I'd be so proud to be working with some of the people there.
Yeah. And how was working with Lee McCloskey?
I never worked with him.
Oh, did you at least meet him?
Yeah, we met, but we didn't because we didn't have any work together. I never really. I only got started getting to know him like in the last few years.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a chance to really get to know him. I think he arrived at a different time than I did and left at a different time than I did. So, and I had all my Italian friends that I was hanging out with, and he's a very sweet guy and very talented artist. But I never really got to know him in those days.
Yeah, I reached out to him when I first started the podcast 3 years ago, and he read my message but never responded. And he did a podcast just a few months ago. This and some TV movie of the week in Dallas were the only stuff he did that he was willing to talk about. He probably knew I wanted to get into the B sex comedy movies he did in the 80s, so he doesn't want to talk about that. Yeah.
Well, all he has to do is say, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe I'll reach out to him again at a certain point. But
reach out to him again and say, I promise you, I won't bring up whatever.
Right.
I just want to know about what you're doing now and what's going on with you.
Exactly. I do know he paints. I know that about him. But that underwater scene you had, I mean, that shot of you ended up on the poster, too. It's so graceful and beautiful, I think. It is.
It's really, I had no idea when I spent a week in the water there that week in the hot summer. I was so happy to be in the water because it was cool and refreshing. It was really a delight. That was my favorite time of the whole film, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Filming of that. It was doing all of the underwater stuff. And I was a good swimmer, so it was a no-brainer for me to, at one point I think they said, we're going to have somebody's hands today, be your hands. I said, no. You're going to use my hands. I have beautiful hands. You don't use somebody else's hands. That's my character. So, I got to milk a little more time in the water there.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a story about making In the Shadow of Kilimanjaro?
Oh, God. That was such a travesty. We went through 3 film crews in that movie, making that film.
Wow.
They were, don't get me started, but I will give you a little bit. I mean,
okay.
The people that produced that film were Indians, and especially in those days, you did not have any respect for actors. Actors were as good as prostitutes. And they just didn't treat people well at all. And we had all of these baboons in the back of our cottages that were being kept in cages that weren't being treated well. I was concerned about the well-being of these animals because I just love animals. And then I got malaria in the middle of shooting that film. I mean, there were just so many. There were so many things going on. I mean, 3 film crews left because they felt like their lives were being endangered. It was it was really a mess. And I think I actually saw that film downtown L.A. at a old theater that had a big rip in the screen. I went with some friends of mine, and we sat there and laughed. We went there to laugh at the movie because it was just such a mess.
Wow.
I mean, when I first decided to make this film, I wanted to go back to Kenya. I had lived in Kenya before. I wanted to go. I loved the idea of going back and making a film there. But I also there were a lot of people, dying from the drought, and it was pitched to me as a film that really goes into the situation with the drought, and the animals tend to get more aggressive and whatnot when they can't find water. So anyway, that was what convinced me that it was that and the trip to Kenya were what convinced me to that it would be a good thing to make that film. And unfortunately, there was no direction, and people were treated badly, and the animals were treated badly, and
that's sad.
And it was a hairy situation, and this was all in like very intense heat on top of everything.
Oh, that's sad. How about the last?
Yeah.
How about the last of Philip Banter?
The last of Philip Banter. That could have been a really interesting kind of film noir. And it's unfortunate that the director kept listening to advice from different people who didn't really have a sense of conviction in terms of what he was doing with it. I mean, the original script for that was really very interesting. And Scott Pollan, and Greg Henry, the guys that were in the film with me, they're both wonderful actors. I mean, it really could have been a very interesting film noir, but unfortunately, it was not. Like I said, the director just had no sense of direction. I think he just instead of doing what he envisioned, he just kept listening to other people's advice and then changing the feel of the film. So it didn't really. It kind of just ended up being I don't know. It just fizzled out because of that. It's all about story with any film.
Yeah, Tony Curtis is in it.
And Tony Curtis is in it. Yeah. Yeah, Tony Curtis. He didn't take it very seriously, and there was Tony Curtis. Yeah, he wasn't. He wanted to be the big star and have me and all the other women around accompany him constantly, and be the babes on his arm, and that just wasn't who I was. I
got a story for you. I have a friend who was a stand-in on his movie, Bad News Bears Go to Japan, and she was really excited to be on the same set with him because she had a crush on him growing up and everything. And he called her Spinner, and she was offended by that, being young she was back then in the 70s, and she was very vulnerable. She was offended by that, but now, at almost 70 years old, she wears it like a badge of honor. She says, Tony fucking Curtis can call me anything he wants. He is such a dreamboat.
Oh, that's funny. Why did he call her Spinner? Where did that come from?
Do you know what that term means?
I guess I don't. What does it mean?
Okay, this is a little embarrassing. You know how when you're doing the cowgirl position in sex, you can do it facing the guy or having your back turned. And so spinning is, spinning, backwards to facing him. That's what a spinner is. Okay,
spinner. I was hearing spitter as in with a T, not with the N.
No, spinner.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I don't think he liked women women very much, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There was a time when one of the set photographers, had some kind of infection, and in Europe, they gave you over-the-counter injections. They didn't give you pills because the injections were more just to do right in your butt or in your hip. Mm-hmm. And I was doing that for her because she was afraid to do it herself. And I said, let me do it for you. I mean, having lived in Europe, I was used to it. And he was walking by one day and saw me giving her an injection. And immediately, she and I were drug addicts. Mm-hmm. Even though I tried explaining to him what we were doing, but anyway, he never knew his lines, and he was very unprofessional in the films that I worked on.
I've talked to a few people who worked with him in his later years and said, yeah, he was always forgetting his lines. He was always showing up late, all that sad stuff,
Yeah. I think he lost his passion for what he was doing, which is a paycheck for him.
Yeah, look at the quality of the films he was making then. They look like they're just a paycheck for him. It's sad, because he did so many great movies in his younger years.
Oh, he's amazing. He did some amazing films, and he did some amazing work. But even the worst quality films, you do the best job you can. Mm-hmm. That's what a professional does. You do your best. You do your best to make whatever you are a part of as good as possible. So anyway.
Yeah. How about Puppet Master?
Puppet Master, that was a wild ride. Puppet Master. Now there's a film that I did for the paycheck because I wanted to work, but I had a horrible flu when that was happening.
Ooh.
I had a fever, and but I did that film aside from the paycheck. I did it because I knew the director was he had a deal to make 3 more pictures that had a sort of supernatural, spiritual quality to them that appealed to me. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to work with me, on those. Unfortunately, those films he never got them off the ground, David Schmoller. But he's a lovely guy. I wanted to work with him. I liked him very much. And the rest of it was kind of a joke to me. I thought it was, it's also kind of a sore thing, that Puppet Master deal, because those guys made themselves very rich making that film, and they owed a lot of money to me and a lot of other people.
Oh yeah.
And they just packed up and left town around the time that they were supposed to pay everybody off, and they all have mansions in Italy, and they all have become so wealthy. And every time I go to one of these conventions, which isn't that often, but when I do go, I always see a booth that they sponsor with paraphernalia and whatnot that alludes to my participation in the Puppet Master series. And it just pisses me off. We can't go after them because they owe me. I had a percentage of that film. That was part of my payment, and they easily owe me $500,000 to $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
From the work I've done for them.
Yep, I've heard that a lot with people who worked with Empire Pictures on the money issue and stuff. Even heard about a lawsuit that happened, and it's quite sad, And I've met Charlie Band. He's a great guy, but he's kind of strange. I met him again at this convention last fall, and he was desperately trying to sell me a Amazon Prime subscription to his Full Moon features.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call him a great guy because he's the orchestrator of all of these people that have not been paid. I mean, he's the guy who has taken all this money that belongs to us, and has lived very well and made sure that his whole family lives very well
Yeah.
He's a charmer. He knows. I mean, boy, he knows how to charm you. But
yeah, it's sad.
I wouldn't say the guy has any integrity. There's still a major lawsuit going on against them. Still, I mean, I talk to SAG every now and then about what's going on, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So different laws get lifted here and there that give the union a little more leeway to go after him. But he's in Italy and they don't have the funds to trace all over Europe to nail the guy down. It's a shame.
Yeah, it's sad too. Yeah, Roger Corman's that way too, but it seems like he gets a little bit more respect for the fact that all of his protégés went on to become Academy Award winners and so forth.
I wouldn't put Roger in the same category. I mean, yes, he pays people very little.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't owe money to people. You know what I'm saying? He paid next to nothing for for people's work.
Mm-hmm.
But he was giving them a shot, and a lot of people went on to have great careers because of him. But he didn't make deals with people who had a percentage of the film, and then he didn't pay them their percentages and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So
wow.
I wouldn't put him in the same category as band.
Mm-hmm. And Paul LeMat, I heard he's a challenge to work with.
Really, he was a sweetheart.
Maybe he calmed down by that point, but I heard like in the 70s, early 80s, he was, he always wanted to do things his way on movie sets. I guess by then he had changed.
I haven't heard that, and all I can say is that he was extremely sweet with me, and
that's good.
It was really a pleasure to work with him.
Bill Hickey, God, he was brilliant. And Muse Small, I interviewed her earlier this year. She's a wonderfully eccentric lady.
Who?
Muse Small, she played Teresa.
Okay.
Yeah. And the writer Ken Hall, he's been on the show. He's a great guy. I know him and his wife Amanda very well.
Oh, he's a sweetheart, yeah.
Yeah.
He's been in touch a couple of times and said, there's a convention going on. And I said, I don't want to do too many of them because you start becoming old news after a while. But yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he's always got stories for every occasion.
He's a hard worker.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Absolutely. Oh. Do you have a Watchers 2 story?
Watchers 2. You know what? I don't really. I didn't work very much in that film. I was mostly in my little private space. And then called out every now and then. I don't have any stories for that. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I wasn't hoping. I wasn't playing on. I wasn't hoping for it.
Yeah.
I was just curious. So, did you decide to quit acting on camera after a while?
I didn't. I guess I did in a way. I just. I would audition for things, and then I'd get hired, and then I'd be sent a couple of dozen roses with a note saying, "So sorry, but we're going with blah blah instead of you." And it was always the director or the producer had fallen in love with some other actress and decided to give them a break, sort of thing. And they knew that there's no way I would be able to fight their 10 lawyers in the studio for the situation. And I don't know. So many times I'd go in for an audition, let's say for a 40-something, and they were really looking for a 20-something. 9 times out of 10, all of the roles that were for mature women were given to really young women. They didn't do that with guys. I mean, they had no problem with letting men be older, but women just always had to be super, super young. So it just became more and more difficult to get parts.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, so what did you end up doing?
Oh, I've done so many things. I started a clothing. I had an interior design business for a while. Made a lot of money with that. And I had a clothing design business where I was doing sort of very, very romantic, otherworldly things that were from the 20s, let's say 1900s to the 20s type things, very elegant things that opera singers and whatnot would buy from me. And I had stores in Paris and London and and here in Malibu that were that gave me a lot of business. And then I worked with dogs. There was a period where I was a dog trainer. I love dogs. Working with dogs for a few years. I mean, I've just done a lot of various things.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing when quarantine isn't happening?
Working on my screenplay. I have a film that was set to start going into pre-production this last May, and then the quarantine happened. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen now. It's really kind of depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you make movies right now? I mean, if you're a big studio and you have a lot of extra money to spend, you can quarantine all of the crew and the actors and their families in the location where you plan to shoot, and you can pay for them to live life well for 2 or 3 weeks before shooting. But that's a huge amount of the budget right there if you're an independent filmmaker. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen now, but the plan is and was and is to direct a film that I wrote. It's based on a true story.
Nice. Well, I hope you get to make it after all this craziness, because I think there's going to be some interesting movies out there when this is all done, that's been inspired by this, inspired by things that they've been procrastinating to write for years. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens when all this is over.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that were in the middle of production when this started, and they're like struggling with how do they continue, and it's really a small fortune to have to put everybody into a limited area, quarantine area, and I mean, it's hard to make a film. It involves a lot of people, and you can't just say, oh, we're going to quarantine everybody that's involved, because there's always external things that happen that you need external help for. A light bulb. You can't find that light bulb for the camera that you can only get from one company, and it has to be flown in. And, anyway.
Right.
So it's a complex situation. So I hope you're right that this isn't going to go on for years and years and years. It's just it's a very strange time for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned several months ago when you read my message and you replied back, we just lost FX Feeney.
Yeah. God, how long ago was that?
When you replied me back, it was probably February or March, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Because I wanted to apologize to you if I took a long time to get back to you. I mean, there's still people that I haven't gotten back to.
Oh, there's people who haven't gotten back to me in 2 years, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, it's just with FX, he was like family. He was a creative partner, and we lived together for over 13 years.
Wow.
And very, very, very dear and special guy. And I'm okay about it as long as I don't talk about it too much. And anybody that has called to send their condolences and want to talk to me about, I just, it's hard to talk about it. So it's pretty fresh. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, last year I was procrastinating reaching out to him because I like Frankenstein Unbound, and he wrote that. And I decided I was going to wait for the 30th, but he died before the 30th happened, and I was going to do it, at Halloween time. And that's one of a handful of people that I wish I had just, reached out to them right then and there instead of waiting, because you never know who you're going to lose, because I got to interview James Drury and Richard Hurd this year 2 weeks before they died, and I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, and he would have been happy to talk to you. He's very generous with his time that way.
Yeah, and I saw him interviewed on a couple documentaries about Paul Rubens because they went to Cal Arts together.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a great conversation, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm so sorry that worked out the way it did. But you just, I think your idea of waiting was probably a really good idea. We just don't know. You can't move forward on everything in the moment, or else you would have no time to do whatever you normally do to keep yourself going. So, on one hand, and on the other hand, I know how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Let's end this on a happy note with my secret silly game and then my jokes.
Okay.
Because I promised you.
By the way, you're a wonderful artist. I was kind of checking out some of the things that you had for sale, T-shirts.
Oh, that's not me. That's not me. I get that all the time.
Oh, that's not you?
No, I know exactly who you're talking about. And when I saw his website, I was impressed myself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, but thank you, though. Thank you. No, I wish I had a talent for drawing. I really do. But
there are pictures of you painting there, though, aren't there? That's weird.
No. I'm not a painter. I wish I was.
Okay. How funny.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who has your same name, then?
Same name, yes. And I did used to have a website, but it's gone right now. I'm going to bring it up again in the future.
Okay.
So my secret silly game is this. This is a series of silly slumber party questions. And how it works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me the exact same question and I answer it. And there's no win or lose. It's just fun. It's
okay, so you ask me the question, I answer it, and then I ask you the same question, you answer it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just fun.
No.
Okay, Irene, are you ticklish?
Yes. Tommy, are you ticklish?
I am baby ticklish. Yes. I get a knee-jerk reaction when I'm tickled.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the body?
My toes.
I agree. You do have very pretty toes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
What is your favorite part of the body?
This goes for anybody. I love the belly button.
I almost said belly button.
Really?
So yeah. Why the belly button?
It's got this erotic symbolism. It's like middle ground between being a private part and a non-private part. And it's funny, I found out recently the reason why NBC did not let Barbara Eden show her belly button on I Dream of Jeannie was because it was an enticement for what she had above and below. And I thought that was a very interesting thing to say, because it is kind of an enticement for the breasts and the vagina.
Right. Or the chest and the penis.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
What is it for you?
Well, it's an area that is very sensual. It's a turn on if anybody starts playing around with my belly button.
Mm-hmm. Exactly for me
yeah.
too. Yeah. I have that erogenous zone that when it gets touched, yeah, I'm turned on by it.
Yeah.
Back to the.
And it's,
go ahead.
It's kind of an innocent part of the body too, in a strange way, which is what I like about it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's just not the place that you would typically that most people would go for when they're going to start making love to you. They wouldn't go for the belly button usually. They usually would go for your mouth or a million other orifices I can think of. But belly button is like, I don't know, it's a very innocent place.
It is a very innocent place, and it's oh so naughty.
Yeah.
Back to the game. What color are your toenails painted?
Burgundy.
Burgundy, nice.
They're usually blue or something like that, but they're burgundy now. My first chance to get my toe, I was desperate to get my nails done during the lockdown, and when I was able to finally go, like a week ago, and have something done with my nails, I just said, we're just going to go for the traditional, red, something in the red area, but I went for a burgundy red.
Nice. And for me, I have au naturel right now, but I like to go for elaborate colors. Like last time I had them painted, they were purple with sparkles.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yes. I started doing my toenails when I was 13, and my parents thought it was weird at first now, but they accept it.
You do pictures on your toes?
Oh, yes. I could actually send you some if you'd like.
I would. That would be fun.
Okay. I'll send you some.
Yeah.
You could send me some, too.
I'll send you some, but mine won't be nearly as interesting as yours, I'm sure. And you can't say you're not a painter if you have painted toenails.
That's the closest I've come to being a painter. And I used to get them done professionally, but they keep raising the prices, so I don't get them done professionally anymore.
Well, it's kind of hard to reach. I don't know. It's kind of hard to do something creative with your toes.
It is
For a long period of time, if you're going to really do something extravagant down there.
It is, yeah. What would you say is your best personality trait?
My empathy, my ability to be empathic with people.
Oh. You're asking me what mine is?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you, what is your best personality trait?
My sense of empathy as well, and the fact that I have no filter.
Okay.
And then,
so when you say you have no filter, does that mean that you are very open? Is that what you mean by that?
I'm very open, yes.
Open-minded.
Very open-minded. I'm not easily offended. I just, go for the jugular. I mean, I do have a sense of, okay, it has its time and its place, but for the most part, I feel when I feel comfortable with somebody, I just, be myself and say what's on my mind.
That's a wonderful quality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like that too. I've offended quite a few people with my honesty, and then I realize, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just telling you what I think. But I think that's a wonderful quality.
Mm-hmm. You have not offended me this whole time. I love your honesty. And then my favorite question. Here's probably the most fun question of the batch. Is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
I'm sure there is. I would say some people's BO makes me gag. Some people's, it depends. Some people's BO, I love it. I would say the smell of a dead carcass is really a pretty bad smell.
Mm-hmm. And then mine, it's anybody who has kids is not affected by this. I can't stand farts or feet.
Oh, smelly feet.
Yeah.
Or smelly farts.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's farts that aren't smelly, and then there's farts that are smelly. So.
I don't think I've never smelled one that smelled good.
Okay. Well, may you not have to be exposed to too many farts in your lifetime.
I smell my own just fine, but yeah, even Even that I don't like. Okay, so here are my jokes. And I'm debuting a couple of these. I haven't told these to a guest yet because I just found them the other day and I thought they were hilarious. What do you call that useless skin around a penis?
Foreskin?
A man.
A man. Aww. Aww.
I like that one. What did the elephant say to the naked man?
Move over, that tree is mine.
Nope.
What?
How can you breathe out of that thing?
That's funny.
And here's
That's
some.
funny.
Yeah. And here's some I tell quite often. You know the difference between a golf ball and a G-spot?
A golf ball moves more.
A man will take 20 minutes to find the golf ball.
Oh, that's funny. That's very funny.
And then, you know why men like to marry virgins?
It's because they have tight vaginas.
Nope.
Why?
Because they can't stand criticism.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
I know that's always a favorite. That and the G-spot one are the two favorites that I always tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to that elephant one. I remember I was on safari with my father and his family in Africa, and the first time that we saw an elephant, it was there was a whole group of them. But there was one male elephant who clearly was getting a hard on or something because his penis just like flew out, and it was ginormous. And I remember saying, "Oh my God, look at the size of that elephant's penis!"
Yeah.
And my family was so horrified that I actually said that, and that all of the other people in the same truck with us could hear their daughter saying that. That just made me think they have incredibly big penises.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Freddy Got Fingered?
No.
With Tom Green? At the end of the movie, they're in a desert-like area, and there's an elephant, and he's running from his father, played by Rip Torn, and so in order to get him back and everything, he squirts elephant semen at him. And elephant semen, they have a lot of it, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's going to be like a river of liquid.
It is. It's like the slime in Ghostbusters, but white.
Yeah.
And I've been told that that's pretty accurate the way they did it too.
Yeah. Oh, that's got to be wild.
It is. Yeah. It's a funny movie. Stupid, but it's a funny movie. But Irene, I thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, it's been nice talking to you. I'm sorry that you aren't here closer by so we can have a coffee or something together with our masks on.
Well, I'll tell you, the next time I'm in LA, I'll let you know, and we'll set that up, and we can have a nice talk there.
Yeah.
I think you're a wonderfully sweet and free-spirited lady, and I'm glad we got to bond over the belly button.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really hope that you and your mom are able to move down here sometime soon.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
So too. But we're connected on Facebook. I'll keep you in the loop, and I'll be sharing this later today.
Okay, and I'll be looking forward to those photographs of your toes being painted.
Yes, as soon as I have time, I will send you them.
Okay. All right, and thank you for giving me that little extra time. My dog goes into seizure mostly when it's really hot out, like it is today. And anyway, she was starting to.
What?
I can usually I give her CBD oil and it stops it. Usually it stops her from going into a grand mal seizure mode. But so thank you for giving me that little extra time, because I need to stay with her and caress her chest and just, and calm her down.
Anything for dogs, I will, accommodate, because they are just precious. I love them so much.
Oh my God, they teach us so much. I thank God that I have her, especially with FX gone, because I'd be really on my own otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have a dog?
We have a cat right now that we got about 9 months ago, and we love her. Her name's Cinnamon. We call her all sorts of nicknames. We call her Hoe Bag because she always lays on her back posing like a sexy model.
Right. Yeah. It's so funny you say that, because Lola Bell, my dog, she has this thing about getting her thighs caressed. Not her stomach. She wants you to go for her thighs, and she does the same thing. A la Marilyn Monroe, she's just all laid out, like ready for you to go for her thighs. My thighs.
Pets are so precious, right, aren't they?
Oh, they are. Yeah, they really are. Well, give little Cinnamon lots of kisses for me, and I hope that we get to meet in real time in person sometime soon.
We will, Irene. Stay safe. God bless, and have a great night.
Likewise, my dear. Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And my love to your mom.
I will.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Irene Miracle. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh, what a wonderful lady. God broke the mold when he made her. Oh, God, what an awesome, awesome lady. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Till next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.